um, Herbert, A-Rod. Okay. Here's the big sills. Most overrated quarterbacks in pro football. Ready? Number 5, Derek Carr. Number 4, Kyler Murray. Number 3, Trevor Lawrence. Number 2, these are the most overrated quarterbacks according to Big Sills. Dak Prescott. And the number 1 most overrated quarterback, according to Big Sills, is Jalen Hurts. Hurts 1, Dak 2, Trevor Lawrence 3, Kyler Murray 4, and Derek Carr number 5. By the way, let's see. 50 million, 48 million, 55 million, 46 million, 45 million. Woo! These guys are robbing. Holy cow. Let's get to Nick Sirianni now. Not that Nick said anything. I wrote very few things down about Nick Sirianni here. Let's see here. Hey, just so you know, Xander Krause said that was the worst list I've ever heard. Why? Because Hurts is the top guy? Well, I usually put guys who throw for 2,500 yards and 10 touchdowns a year at the top of the list, especially guys who are making $50 million. And, hey, you know what? That's a good point. Because let me ask you something here. And Craig Carton and I were talking about this today. Are you so sure that 2022 wasn't just like Nick Wright even says? How do you know it wasn't just an anomaly year for him? And that's not really who he is. Because the 3 years he started, 21 and 23, there's been more bad years. Or how about this? There's been more decent years than great years. There's only been one. How do you know that wasn't just a one-of? Why are you so sure that it's going to be different? He's practicing against a very, very suspect defense. How do you know they're prepared for the Packers? How do you know this? That wasn't just, and by the way, it wasn't like he was spectacular throwing the ball. He was great all around, but that's not what they're doing now in 24. How do you know that? That just wasn't, hey, do not guys have special years and never go back to doing that ever again? Yeah, all the time in sports. How do you know that? That wasn't just a one-of. It's completely regressed from a year ago. You can say whatever you want about coaching. Sure, okay. How do you know? I'm not saying I do, but that should be enough to go like this. But it's a question. Hey, listen, if you can answer a question that I ask you both ways, you answered the point. Seals, how do you know that was just a one? I don't. But you also have to land on the side. It could be 1 year in his career that will be the best year he's ever had, and he'll never get back to that. How do you know that? You're assuming that he's got the intangibles to win ball games. Or not ball games, the game. Right? Kyler Murray's won 11 games. I don't know. He had one great year. Okay? Right? Stop crying. This guy here. Stop crying, guy. We need Hurts to be good at decision making Yes, you do. Jalen Hurts is a winner. So is Lamar Jackson. But he ain't win the Super Bowl. Kyle never won an NFC championship game. No, but Jimmy Garoppolo did. Most overrated tackle. Seals, Nick Wright is riding Dan Sileo's coattails on being an Eagle troll. I'm just asking. I think they brought that up. It was a good question. How do you know he'll ever get back to 22 again? You're assuming that. Oh my God. When I heard that this morning, I even text Craig Carton and I said, hey, you guys, this is right. I never thought of it that way. I never thought of it that way. How do you know? You don't know. 21 was, I don't know. 23 was, we know. 22 was good. It was really good. What makes you think he's going to go back to that? Wishful thinking? That's not a strategy. Hey, King, get this. Is it the likelihood that he's going to have a good year? Yeah, I think so. Is it the likelihood he goes back to being an MVP candidate? That I don't know. And you're going to go like this. Well, look at all the talent. No shit. Hey, by the way, that even brings this up even more. There was nobody last year that had more talent in the offense than Jalen Hurts and threw for less than $3,000. I mean, even Sam Howell had a better passing year. I just want to make it clear. Can you imagine if you put any top flight quarterback like Herbert or any of those guys in that offense, what these guys would throw for and how they would win? My list is superior to your list of overrated. I think it's a fair question too. Hey, dude, honestly, Hurts, in my opinion, is the most overrated quarterback in the NFL. Maybe I'll take it back. Overhyped. I don't see it. You could say whatever you want. I don't see it. We'll see. Seals, this is the prove it year for Hurts. And I absolutely love the way he conducts himself. I do too. But I need to see consistent results. Right. He's never been. How about this, Samuel? Samuel, would you agree to this, Samuel? He's never exhibited consistency in his entire NFL career. Is that fair? Is that fair, Samuel? Okay. Samuel, that doesn't mean he can't do it. But if there's a question, look how people get upset when you ask a question like that. It's like you're attacking someone for asking an obvious question that you don't like to hear. Well, that's a you thing, and I can't help that. Let's see here. Jalen Hurts hasn't proven shit yet, dog. Okay? What? I'm not sure what you talked about, what you're saying here. Wright saw the numbers bump from some small network when the host trolls Hurts' fans. I know people get their stuff from us. People over in Philadelphia with the radio stations, they get their shit from us. I know it. Everything has to be perfect for Jalen to be good. Has to have a loaded offense for him to succeed. I don't think that's a bad comment either, my friend. If Jalen Hurts doesn't have a loaded team, he can't win. He's not going to carry a football team on his back. He can't. Shit, they had A.J. Brown out of the game in the playoff game last year, and he fell to pieces. Let's see here. Sills, what does MVP mean? Does it mean you are the most valuable player on the team that makes a difference in succeeding, or is it based on just what others think of him? Let me ask you this. Let's do this, Abe. Is Jalen Hurts the most valuable person on his football team right now? If you had to rank the players on that team, who's the most valuable player on that team, in your opinion? Who's the most valuable player? AJ? Lane? Who? Hurts third? Okay. Look at Brock Purdy. Who's the most valuable player on the 49ers? Trent Williams? McCaffrey? Purdy? Okay. Who's the most valuable player on the Bills? Josh Allen. Who's the most valuable player on the Bengals? Joe Burrow. Who's the most valuable player? Kansas City. Who's the most valuable player in Houston? Who's the most valuable player in Green Bay? The quarterbacks have to be number one. Can't be third or fourth. That means you can win in spite of them. Sills, this topic will keep people yelling at their screen for hours. Well done. Nick Wright is an asshat. Being on the other side of his opinion makes you right. Here, Bob, know this. When you ask a question like that, hold on here. When you ask a question like that, if you can't answer it without having the other side question it the same way, then in my opinion, it's a fair question to ask. How do you know that guy's not going to go and repeat a performance like 22? How do you know that when he's never been consistent in the NFL? 21, 22, and 23 were all different years. He has not shown one time. That's why 24, we all agree, is either going to shut Big Sills up or the narrative will continue that guy is not who you think he is. There is no getting around it now. You can't have a fourth year be completely different. Okay? 21, 22, 23, and 24. Dude, that's why I say 24 is going to define Jalen Hurts. He showed you he can do it already. No, he didn't. Dude, that's like telling me Jimmy Garoppolo showed you he could do it. Or Colin Kaepernick showed you he can do it. They did the same fucking thing he did. Same thing. Those two guys. I mean, are those two guys special? No. Marcus goes, buddy. Hoss, wait a minute, Marcus. Has Jalen Hurts shown you consistent play as an elite quarterback in the National Football League in his 3 years starting? Yes or no? Bob, let's have some common sense here. Bob, has Jalen Hurts shown you in 3 years that he's a consistent football player at his time at quarterback in the National Football League? Has he or has he not? Marcus says yes. So last year's 15 turnovers was good for you? Marcus says his 18 turnovers compared to the year previous where he had 6 picks is the same. So is this guy, Jalen, saying that 18 picks or 15 picks and the year previous, his 6 picks are on the same page. Really? That's consistency? 6 picks, 15. You're delusional. You're delusional. Delusional. How can he succeed when he doesn't have a consistent coach? Prince, he can't. Ever. He's going to have a career like this. Why? Because that front office does that. Wentz's career. It's the way they operate. You're not going to have the same play caller like in Kansas City or up in Green Bay or even down in Los Angeles with McVay. You're never having that. You're never having that. How? You're right, Prince. Prince, think about this. You're right. Hurts will never be a consistent player in this league because the organization organizationally doesn't do that. You're right, Prince. He's going to have peaks and valleys because of the inconsistent coaching. Absolutely true. 22, phenomenal. 23 here. By the way, I hear John McMullen and everyone going like this to me and saying this. He wasn't that bad in 23. He wasn't good enough. For a $50 million guy, that ain't good enough. That ain't good enough. Hey, he's good. So is Kirk Cousins good. That ain't good enough either. Hey, Steve, what's wrong? What am I saying that's wrong, Steve? What? I'm curious. What am I wrong about, Steve? Do you know why? Brock Purdy, hey, let me do this. Niner all day. Hold on, I got to get this. I got to get this here. Excuse me. You need to stop glazing over Allen. Allen's a fantastic football player. Even Tom Brady knows. Everyone, dude, when Brady and Peyton Manning say he's the second best quarterback in the league, I don't give a fuck about a poll. Okay? Allen, the most overrated quarterback in the NFL. Okay, sure. Not by Tom. Get this. Some poll and Tom Brady's telling you he's the second best talent. I'll take Brady's word. I'll take Tom Brady's word. You know what that poll can mean to me? If you polled the same WNBA folks, they would tell you that Caitlin Clark is the most overrated player in the WNBA. Okay? They would say she's the most overhyped and most overrated player in the WNBA. Okay? So careful when you're asking people about those player polls like that. Okay? I mean, you people are trying to stop her from being the rookie of the year, and she's head and heels above everything. But not if you ask the WNBA players. That's a player poll too. Hey, listen, guys, one more time about Josh Allen. You guys can fucking hate the guy all you want. Let's take a look at this one here. This is MGM Bets here. Here are your favorites to win the most valuable player award. Number 1, Patrick Mahomes, plus 450. The most overrated player in the NFL. Number 2, Josh Allen. Number 2, plus 800. Number 3, CJ Stroud, plus 1,000. And then you got Joe Burrow, plus 1,000. Then you've got the legendary Jordan Love at plus 1,400. Then you have the greatness of Jordan Love, again, like I said, at 1,400. Funny, I don't see any dual threat on that list. Josh Allen. And the Cowboys signed Dalvin Cook. How you doing? Hey, Troy, can you imagine if Josh Allen was in Philly on that offense? instead of having just Stephon Diggs, Devontae Smith's better than Stephon Diggs. Can you imagine? Josh Allen in that offense with the best O-line, $10 million back, shiny new wide receivers. Can you imagine? Holy shit. Wow, I'd like to see Josh with that offense. Real quarterback. That'd be amazing. Hey. Niner all day. I got a question for you. Do you know why why do you think Brock Purdy will have a better career than Hurts? Niner all day. Why do you think Brock Purdy will have a better career? He's out to a better start already. Bob, there's one. Where's Bob here? There you go. Why do you guys think Brock Purdy will have a better career than Jalen Hurts? You got a head coach who controls his career. You got a GM in Philly who controls Jalen's. You got a coach who controls a player's destiny. In Philly, you have a GM that controls his destiny. You got a non-football guy controlling his destiny in Philly. And you have a football guy controlling his destiny in San Francisco. Niner all day. That sound right? He's a football guy. Only way that happens is because the organization knows his limitations and won't make him play out his comfort zone. Well, what exactly has San Francisco done that's any different than what they've done in Philly for Jalen? Explain to me what's different with Jalen versus Purdy. They're both comparable. What has Jalen done more than Brock Purdy? What has he done more? He's been to 2 conference title games, which is already more. He's won 2 division titles since he started. Just tell me, he's thrown for $4,000. He's gone to a Super Bowl too. Name me one thing that he's done better than Purdy. I could name you a couple things that Purdy's done better than him. Better thrower, better passer, spreads the ball out more, wins more since he started, more productive from the pocket. He was the most productive quarterback from the pocket last year in the NFL. Most productive with lesser attempts. Like I said to you before, of all the quarterbacks in pro football in the top 20, he had the less attempts and still had the 3rd most passing yards. Josh Allen, Herbert, Lawrence, Dak haven't achieved what Jalen has. Also, we all know Jalen didn't come out as a pure passer. Still will develop. How about this, Mansom? Okay, that's fair. But here's the thing. So when he came out of college, he had a deficiency of not being a pure passer. So you're going to go to his lesser talent skill set of throwing the ball, right? How's that make sense? Why wouldn't you stick with what made him great in 22? They're not running. You don't pay all these guys this money. 10 for the back, 25 apiece, 35 and 25 for your wideouts and 15 for, and all the all linemen pay. You're not paying that money to run the ball. He ain't running it. You think they're going to endanger Jalen Hurts at $51 million running RPOs? No fucking way. Especially with those Y and Z guys you're paying. They're going to throw the ball. So according to you, Musa, you're telling me that what the Eagles have decided to do was hire a guy to transform him into being a pocket guy, which he's never been. And that's what we're going to see in 24. My money's on he can't do it. Practicing against the 26th best defense in camp doesn't give me comfort. They cannot go back to running because they don't have Shane Steichen. So again, the consistency of coaching hurts them. Okay. Dude, you guys actually answer your own reason why he'll never be a consistent quarterback in Philly. You answer it. Bob says, Sills, San Francisco puts a system in place that plays to Purdy's strength, like it did for Garoppolo. And like it did when even Harbaugh was up there, when he had Colin Kaepernick. Move Purdy to an RPO and see how he does. Hey, but that being said, Bob, move Joe Burrow to an RPO, see what he does. Joe Burrow's not running an RPO. By the way, they're not running an RPO anymore. Jalen Hurts' issues are organizational failures. Paid him $50 million and changed his scheme and his game. I think that's where you are. Right. Jalen's instincts will take over and be out of the pocket more than they want. I think he's a weapon like that, Nick. Nick, I'm going to say it one more time. Nick, I'll say this to you, so it doesn't sound that I'm totally killing him. Here, Jalen Hurts in open space out in the perimeter is undefensible. You can't defend him. You can't. There's like an Aaron Rodgers presence to him in space in the open when he's sprinting out. You can't defend that. Doom, run. Doom, run. He's the most accurate Wildcat quarterback of all time. That's not a rip. Coordinators and coaches looked for that guy that could throw the ball out of that Wildcat, and they've been looking for that guy forever. They've never found him. It's him. But Laurie and the organization don't want that. You know why? What's the one thing that I always say? There's not a high ceiling for longevity with that style of play. They want to spread this thing out as much as they can. Jalen Hurts is going to make you sing the Eagle Fight song again if you keep this up. Well, I didn't have to sing it too much last year. That's for damn sure. Okay. Roland, Sills, it's a shame, but I think Cincinnati may have already ruined Burrow with the 70-sack Super Bowl season. Now you're talking about like when Carr, the brother, got destroyed in Houston with all them sacks, never was the same. We'll see you. Hey, by the way, Roland, this is a big year for Joe Burrow. I'm sick of seeing you on the sidelines, dude. Hey, and by the way, I don't mind the fucked up hairdo or the cool clothes or all this and that. Pretty soon I'm going to go like this pretty soon to you. Hoss, you look like a hooker on Madison Avenue. You don't look like a Super Bowl champion quarterback. You look like a hooker. You got to go out and win ball games, son. Hey, you know what? When you win ball games and you're in Super Bowls and you're winning Super Bowls, I mean, that guy looks like Huggy. He's a white Huggy Bear. This guy looks more like a pimp than he does an NFL quarterback. That's right, Yale. It's time to fucking play. Let's go. I'm sick of that bullshit. It's time to go. Hey, all these guys. Here, let me go down the list for you here. Let's start with Allen. As great as that dude is, skill set and talent-wise, no doubt. No doubt. Hey, I can't keep doing this to you. You're the best-looking woman in here. You're the best-looking woman in here. No one wants to date you. You're like, oh, well, maybe you ain't. You got to win, man. Get this. Josh Allen is no longer gauged on what he does in the regular season. He's elevated to that now. Where, get this. Hey, you got to win in that time of the year to be considered, because you know why? You're in the AFC. Let me say this to you. Peyton Manning was never better than Tom Brady. Peyton Manning underachieved in the Brady era. So if Josh Allen underachieves, he lands on being Peyton Manning if he wins one. Ben Roethlisberger had more Super Bowls at one stop than Manning did in Indianapolis. Is Ben a better quarterback? I don't think so. But I'll tell you one thing Ben did do. Never had a losing season. And he won 2 Super Bowls. Stop crying. We summoned Xander to come on. You're high as F, Sills. Whatever, guy. 1 year. Benefit of doubt. Here, let me go here. Matthew Stafford has a losing record as a starting quarterback in the NFL. Do you know that? He's won a Super Bowl, and they call him elite. How can you be elite when you've never really had consistency in winning? Some would go, well, he was in Detroit, Dan. Well, Jared Goff doesn't seem to have a problem with that. Is Matthew Stafford a better quarterback than Jared Goff? I don't know. Goff's won everywhere. But Stafford's got the Super Bowl, even though he never won in Detroit. And he had Megatron. He had Megatron. One of the most gifted wide receivers in pro football history. Because he was on the worst team in football, Goff's team is 10 years later. You're nuts. Wait a minute. When he got traded to Detroit, dude, they thought he was just going to be a stopgap guy. Instead, he leads them to the NFC Championship, where they haven't been in 35 years. And he gets a $53 million contract. They didn't think they were keeping him. But seriously, though, Jalen was battling injury and inept coaching last year. It's not fair to critique on Hurts when comparing him to other organizations. What do you mean other organizations? This is how you do business. He's had 8. There have been 8 different coordinators in 3 years in Philly. What are you talking about, Uncle? You've had 8 coordinators on both sides of the ball. This is how you do business. 8 coordinators. If you don't make it to the Super Bowl and that defense hangs out at 25-27, Vic Fangio will be fired. You're going to bring a guy back with the supposed talent that you guys say they have? That I don't. I wouldn't fire him, because I actually think the defense will probably be better in 25. But they're impulsive. Sills, what kills me is that this team wants longevity from Hurts. I believe they do. But does not build a staff to provide him with the tools for longevity. Amen. This is such a good take. This is my problem in a nutshell with your whole development of Hurts. Right here. This is it. And then, you know what you have to end up saying? You have to end up saying what Xander says. You got to learn to live with it. Really? Well, then you got to learn to live with Jalen's ups and downs in his career. Every year he's played, it's been different. Coordinators, coaching, personnel, defensive personnel. Okay, so Jalen's got to carry a side of the ball because Howie didn't build it with veterans. How in the fuck is that on the quarterback? You think Brock Purdy's got to carry the 49er defense? Imagine this. You're not Niner all day. I guarantee you in San Francisco, they're not saying this. Hey, Brock's got to keep long drives and has to outscore so that the defense can stay off the field. They're not saying that in San Francisco. They're saying that in Philly, that Hurts has to score a ton of points to keep his defense off the field until it gets ready. That's an organizational thing. That's not a Jalen Hurts issue. I mean, really. Detroit turned around due to the O-line. Detroit turned around due to Brad Holmes. Brad Holmes drafted correctly. 2s, 3s, and 4s all hit. Okay? All without a doubt. JM goes like this. It wasn't golf. So what the Detroit Lions decided to do was pay him $53 million and $200+ million in salary and $180 in guarantees because it wasn't golf. Okay. Jeez. You gave a guy $250 million because it wasn't him? Really? Jared Goff won one game with Detroit with the exact offense that Stafford won 5 games the previous year. Goff didn't win shit in Detroit. He won a $53 million contract. That's what he won. He makes more than Stafford now. You know that? He makes $10.5 million more than Stafford. Well, I'll tell you what. He's doing something right. He's the 3rd highest paid quarterback in pro football. He makes more than your boy. Put Purdy in the same situation that Hurts was in. I guarantee that he gets traded after 2 seasons. That's not a Brock Purdy thing. That's a Philadelphia Eagle issue. He'll never be consistent because you're not consistent around him. Okay, so wait a minute, Mad Bird. You're saying that's the market, so you paid Jalen, okay, because that was the market, not because he was great? Okay. Seals, you and I both know that as long as Mahomes is playing, Allen ain't winning it, sadly. Hey, Cosmo, you know this as much as I do, Cosmo. As long as Tom Brady's in the AFC, you know Peyton Manning ain't going to win a lot of them things. Say the same thing about Peyton Manning. You know, as long as, hey, Cosmo, am I right when I say this? When Tiger Woods is on tour, you know Phil Mickelson ain't winning shit. He may win a couple, but he ain't winning it when it comes to being the golfer of the decade. When it comes to being the best quarterback in his era, Peyton Manning ain't it. Can't be. And here, Jalen's worth the money. He was worth the money last year? Sills, Detroit is now a very Philly-like situation. They signed their quarterback, but get this. To big money after a very successful year. They probably lose their OC after. They probably do. But, Bob, here's the thing. Here's the thing different than what Philly is. What's the difference? Bob, you know this. Majority of those players up there in Detroit are on rookie contracts. Penei Sewell, they gave him more money. Tight ends on rookie deal. The receivers, one of the receivers is on a rookie deal, Jameson Williams. The other guy they gave big money to, the second best offensive line, maybe the best offensive line. I think I have it. The best offensive line in football is Detroit. Majority of these guys, Aiden Hutchinson's on a rookie deal. Campbell's on a rookie deal. Teron Arnold's on a rookie deal. The majority of those players on defense are all on rookie deals. And they went to the NFC Championship game. That's why they have cap relief. They have cap relief. They can build their team because they're hitting on their draft. Hey, Howie's never hit on anybody like Aiden Hutchinson. We're hoping Jalen Carter's that guy. Know this, Teron Arnold's starting. Okay? All right. Guys, Philly 500 is going to join us at the bottom of the hour. Okay? Let me get to one more here. The question is, which offense was it last year, Nick's or Brian's? Nick said it was his. Nick kept coming to the podium saying it was his. It's my offense. Brian's just calling the plays. Which turns out not to be true because Brian and Jalen had an ass for Nick because he was getting involved. Turned out not to be true. Geez. Quinyon Mitchell is not starting at CB2. He's starting in the slot. That's not a corner position. Good night. Read a book. Okay. Philly 500. Guys, hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.